Well, okay, so it's still April 25th, but now it's in the afternoon and a little brighter out. It's quit raining. Wind's died down a little bit, so I think I'll just go for it. So anyway, there's the septic field. This is a very modern, technological septic system, and it involves a very large drainage field, which is what this is. It's about 30 feet by 15. And the business end of this thing is in the front yard, and then there's a pipe that runs the length of the north side of the house all the way back to this, and then there's emitters just a few inches below the surface of the gravel. And I'm going to walk out here now and show you the midline. There's 3 stakes there with a piece of string running along from front to back, and that's the center line. That's exactly where the feeder pipe to the emitters is located, and then the emitters are 2.5 feet on either side, and they run in a spiral pattern and emit the cleaned effluent, and that's probably more than you wanted to know. So I'll stop that and get on with other things. By the way, here's the rest of the yard. That deck over there goes to the living room, and then you can see the nice north exposure or elevation of my neighbor's beautiful house. And then back to the corner there is sort of where I start my native plant yard. Back to the cherry tree, and there's a currant, the blackberry thicket, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's talk about grasses here. This is a miscanthus grass from Asia, and it's a particular cultivar called cabaret, which is a variegated form, and it's really, really attractive. This plant actually did not go completely dormant. I had some of those leaves throughout the winter. And here's the midline again. And then over here is another cabaret. So basically, if you're standing where a lot of people are going to be standing, which is over here off the main deck, then you're going to be seeing first those 2 cabaret grasses on the left-hand side of the entire design. By the way, that's my deck right there. And that little thing is a mint garden. And I've just got kind of some of my different plants and everything lined up there on the steps going up to the deck. Okay, so then there's another grass here. This is a pennisetum grass. And it has its 2 fellows over here. These will get to be about 18 inches high. So a very small grass in comparison to that cabaret, which will get 3 to 4 feet high. Then we start looking at ground covers. This is bearberry, Arctostaphylos uva ursi. And here's another one here. There's several of them that were planted last fall. These will eventually cover an area about 3 to 4 feet in diameter. It's a real spreading ground cover. Of course, here's some of the rocks that I found here and there that I thought were decorative enough to use in the design. I just planted this dragon's blood sedum. Looks like it's already been eaten, probably by one of the rabbits here. So we'll find out what happens with that. Are they going to go after all of the sedum? In which case, that's not going to work very well. And then here's another sedum here they haven't touched yet. So keep your fingers crossed. It's a John Creech sedum spurium there. Again, another rock next to it. And then that's the exact middle or center of the entire design right there. That particular stake. Looks like one of the animals, probably the rabbit again, has chewed through my string. So I'm continuing with animals here all the time. Little Delospermum plant, also just about 1.5 to 2 inches deep in roots. Some more sedums and Delospermas here. There's another Arctostaphylos ursi, small little ornamental grass to kind of grow next to that very large rock. That's the largest stone in the entire design. And here's another one of those grasses here too. And then over here is sort of a new grass that I planted last fall, and it's just barely starting to come up again. It's a switchgrass called Shenandoah. I have high hopes for that, but it's been awfully slow. Another one of those small little gray grasses there, and then I'm getting ready to plant that gray sedum on the other side of that stone. And let's see, sort of an interesting little area with these two stones. In the center there is another sedum that's from actually Afghanistan. Kind of cool. A little bit different. It's called Pachyclados, sedum pachyclados. And over here is a sedum album and another sedum album. I'm going to plant those on either side, making kind of a little vignette right there. Again, more bearberry. And another one here. So these will all be covering the ground. So we won't be looking so much at all this bare sand as we will be looking at bare sand with a lot of plants, hopefully, there. Small ornamental grass there and another one over here. They're both variegated. Zebra grass is what they're called. And now I'm back to the back of the sedum area, the septic area. And these are Japanese blood grasses here, 4 of them, all along the length of that planter. And this planter I inherited from the previous owner, and it's very shallow, but I actually planted tomatoes and potatoes last year in it, and they did fairly well. What I planted last fall were these beach strawberries, which like to grow in sand on the beach, believe it or not. And they're actually just beginning to bloom. There's one little rain-beaten flower there, another one over there. But they've done real well. These are very attractive plants. I covered them with the chicken wire just in case some of the animals decided they liked these. I'd like to at least get them up to some size before I turn them loose to see if they survive. There's some comfrey there. Some of this stuff is just kind of farm stuff here. That's a very old herb, comfrey. Useful for a lot of different things. A couple of more miscanthus grasses. This is called Morning Light, and there's another one over here. These will get 4 feet high. So this could turn out to be really interesting later on down in the summer. And there's another miscanthus here. This one's a little bit different cultivar. It's not Morning Light. It's Gracilis. Means graceful. Here's my currant bush. Right there. Ribes, currant bush. Looks like the light's playing tricks with the camera. It's going from green to gray to green to gray to green to gray. And then over here is the early burlap cherry. The leaves are taking over now from the flowers, and they're pretty much fading out. But this is the enclosure that I dreamed up before I went to sleep every night. Kind of trying to think of something that might keep the deer away. So far, so good. Then back here on the other side of the septic field, toward the neighbor on my north side, are my blueberry plants that I planted around this large decaying red cedar stump. And one of the interesting things about this plant, that's growing right out of the cedar stump is that that's what they do. It's a red huckleberry. And wherever you go throughout the Pacific Northwest, when you see an old cedar stump like this, you'll often see a red huckleberry growing out of it. Now, huckleberries and blueberries are both in the same genus, Vaccinium, so I figured, well, since this one was there and liked it, why not plant some more? So I got 3 blueberry plants from Ace Hardware last spring, and all 3 different kinds, and planted them around the base of the old stump there. So there's my blueberries. Looks like they're starting to bloom. And another one over here, just beginning to develop some flowers. These are already pretty much open. That's right there. One of my feeders, this one is for Niger seed, which the finches like. And this is my oogle culture bed, which is a fancy way of saying the place where I put a lot of the grass clippings. But it'll eventually break down and become a nice compost heap, hopefully. One last grass that I had to move from the front. This is another one of the zebra grasses. Sometimes they call it porcupine grass. And then this area here is where I've been clearing out the blackberry. So the blackberry had been running all the way from the corner of that fence there, all along here, back out in there to where that board is down there. And so I'm just gradually cutting it out, putting it into the green trash receptacle, and letting the company that does that haul them away. This grass here, this plant here is nettle, stinging nettle. It really likes it here. So this time of the year, I don't work back in that area. Here's some more of it here. And then a whole colony of it back here. Some of it actually was growing over some of the blackberry canes that I had dug up and cut out. So I had to be careful getting them. This is the original plant, I'm pretty sure, of the blackberry. So you can kind of see that all of those canes are pretty much coming from the same central spot or location. And then they go up from there another, I'd say 8 feet, maybe. Nasty stuff. Here's a typical example of the prickles on it there. And those will grab you. Okay, so that's sort of it. Looking at the septic field now from the other direction, back towards the house. And I'm going to come around here and walk on back. Go past another one of my feeders, bird feeders. And just planted this tree, by the way. This is paperbark maple. Oh, there's some siskins fighting over the seeds. I can't see them, they're backlit. Yeah. Yep. These are funny little birds, they really are. They're almost fearless. I've had them just kind of sit there on the feeder while I walked right up to them. By the way, this slinky is there to keep the squirrels from going up the pole to get at the seed. Works extremely well. Okay, here's my arrow bamboo I just planted this spring. That'll fill in this whole area here, because this is the north side of the house where nothing is planted. And then back to the deck. Here's my old jade plant. So yeah, I'll go ahead and see if I can't upload this to Facebook, and well, we'll go from there. I hope you enjoyed my amateurish attempts at doing a video. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this before, so give me a little slack here. And it's 15 minutes.